Hi everybody, welcome again. I'm here with Martin Dangerfield and we're going to be talking about recruiter enablement. Martin, welcome. Give us a quick introduction.
Hi, it's good to see you, Adam. I'm Martin Dangerfield and I'm CEO of Immersive, and we're an in-house recruitment business. So we're that awkward middle ground, sometimes called embedded. So we're not an agency, we're definitely not RPO, and we work with our clients to hire in-house in their name on a global basis.
Great, okay. Recruiter enablement. What is this to Martin Dangerfield?
Oh, I was trying to say earlier on, I don't want to repeat myself. To me, it's about giving recruiters the skill set, the mindset that they need to go and be successful in whatever they're hiring. You know, as an in-house recruiter, you're often given a whole list of roles to go and hire, and you've got your favorites that you feel quite good at. But there's always if you're a tech recruiter, you're going to go and hire some salespeople. You need that, tool set, arm to think about how you're going to go and do that better. What does that mean? How do I search? Do I need to search differently for salespeople than techies? And certainly from my perspective, it's about bringing the humanity to recruitment. There's an awful lot of talk about ChatGPT, for example, or AI or automation. The bit that the real recruiters do, they do really well, we can all think of them, is to engage with human beings on a way that they want to be engaged with, whether that be a really well-crafted email, a well-crafted LinkedIn message. But most of it's the conversation that they have with the candidate that says, I know my stuff and I can have a conversation with you about any role and it's going to be great.
Right. So you used the word tool set. Give me an example of some of the tools that might be in that set. I
guess that's really challenging. As we've talked about this before, but for me, it's about, so the mindset piece is one thing. We've all got recruiters that know how to use LinkedIn Recruiter, for example. It's very process driven. The bit that's tricky and the bit that often people fall foul of is how to capture a mood for us, in our case, a particular client. Chinese is a good example. So we've got clients in different sectors and different geographies. How do we know that hiring a tech person in Denmark is different to hiring a person in North America? Most of that is word of mouth, isn't it? I think that recruiters share their experiences and talk about it. But more and more, I think what we're trying to do is to put some sort of method, some sort of capturing mechanism in place to do that, whether that be a page on Notion or a Slack channel, which is just dedicated to thinking about X, Y, and Z. I know certainly last year, the bigger that we got, the more difficult that was to replicate. But capturing those moments of time was difficult when we've got typically recruiters who are super busy doing the thing we want them to do, is out there recruiting. So more and more, I think we're trying to encompass, what does it mean? What does good recruitment look like? And of course, that's so different for everybody. And probably different from organisation to organisation as well, what people value in that recruitment process versus what actually sometimes happens.
So you've got a very interesting scenario in that your company acts like an in-house recruitment team, but you're working on behalf of a number of different employers. So presumably collaboration across customer account teams is something that can be very beneficial. Is that something you can do in terms of sharing, here's good ways of using messaging, and here's what it's really like to recruit in Denmark, and here's some of the tools that have worked well in for this company, so maybe we could use them over here as well. How does that work?
So it's a really good, so you're absolutely right that we work with organizations in different ways. So some of our organizations have never recruited themselves before. In some respects, they're looking to us to lead that conversation. So we would typically turn up with, the workflow. This is what recruitment looks like. When I talk about tool sets, we'll come along with an ATS. We'll often talk about hiring manager engagement, what that actually means, but really having to spell it out, probably because they've not done that before. The other side of it is that we work with larger enterprise organizations where we're part of their existing team. So we can't influence them in quite the same way, probably because they're bigger than us. But equally, you're right, it's an earning opportunity. It says, actually, this company over here recruits like that. That's working really well. We can certainly replicate that elsewhere if it's appropriate. I will say as a caveat, we never share candidates, just in case anybody ever does that. But we can share best practice and how things work. So it becomes an interesting conversation. I mean, certainly we're doing some partnerships with some ATS providers right now, which have been driven by our clients saying, actually, this is amazing. We've gone to then go and use it in their name, working with them. and walked away going, actually, elsewhere, yeah, other organisations will really benefit from that. So we'll go and buy that tool set for us to use on another company. We're very much still in the world, though. We've got, because of that mix, we're not too prescriptive. And that brings its challenges as well. It says that, we don't have a one-size-fits-all approach to recruitment. And I'm hoping that's sort of beneficial. That means that, again, going back to sort of enablement of our recruiters, they've got to be adaptable to different scenarios. And that's actually the biggest challenge we face, is that you could be working for enterprise client A, who've got very structured, very methodical process. And then your next assignment could be startup company B, who've got no process, no nothing, and don't really know about recruitment outside of, they've used agencies in the past and that sort of work for them. Captain, that's the really challenge then. So we spend a lot of time together as a team sort of talking about that. But actually, to your thing we talked about earlier, is that actually holding it down and saying, this is what it looks like, this is how it translates. Sometimes we miss things. We don't always get the best benefit that we like to.
Yeah. Okay. So you talked about one of the benefits that you're bringing to companies is the way that you can be agile and you become your customer, I guess, to an extent. That is at the expense of, scalability, because unless you're applying an entire cookie cutter approach to everything, things aren't really scalable. But I guess that's why somebody would come to an Immersive rather than go to a company that is unable to adjust its processes like so many are.
I guess so. And again, it's a thing about, we've put our client bases into sort of three buckets, not a very sophisticated word, but the enterprise at the end is one thing. So enterprise typically come to us for capacity and say, I just need more. But there we're really playing by their rules. So they've got a particular way of hiring, a particular route to market, or a particular whatever it happens to be, then we really have to replicate that. The ones that we love the most are those middle two. So startups who are typically starting for the first time to hire themselves in their name. So we're that logical, sort of comfortable, we can hire in your name and add some scale, because we can ramp our team up quickly and then ramp it down quickly as well, without them having to hire somebody. The middle ground for us, they're sort of mid-market companies, are where we probably add the most value. They probably only got 1 or 2 TA people maybe. So then by adding our capacity, we can influence that in a sort of positive way, which actually says, as an organization, you've only been looking at this bit of it, bring our wealth of experience from other organizations, big and small, and almost, help them to go on that journey of improving what they do when we've left. We don't stay with a client forever. Typically, as a transitional period of time, driven by capacity or capability. So that leave behind for us is quite important as well, that they have a sort of, a good experience of us, and actually that they've improved how they perform as their own TA function in the future.
What is what's your objectives or ambitions in the area of recruiter enablement? Do you plan to do additional things to help your recruiters become more productive and successful?
I think it's very much awkwardly work in progress. We owe it to our clients to be better than them, which sounds arrogant, but it's not actually about being arrogant. We have to rock up and perform better than they do earlier. What it's like when you start a new job, when you get employed somewhere, you've got a sort of ramp up time of going around the houses, meeting people, doing this, understanding what's going on. Well, we don't get to do that. So there's very much an awful lot of pressure on day one almost to start the hiring process, engage with hiring managers. So for us, we're looking at what makes the difference between a good recruitment process and a bad one. So there's the process, isn't there? There's a sort of the logistics, if you like, of I've got a candidate and they're going through this process. So we can influence that around interview processes and assessment, etc. That anecdotal client we had last year who had nine steps in their interview process alone. We can do something about that. But certainly our clients are looking for us to engage with hiring managers. So a lot of our enablement is about human contact, about how do we look confident, how do we engage with the hiring manager so they feel confident really soon, they don't know us, and say it's going to be all right, we're here, we're going to get on with this, and this is what it looks like. That is an interesting skill. We can find recruiters out in the market who are brilliant at recruitment, against that workflow, brilliant at candidate engagement, but often that sort of people sort of talk about stakeholder management, but actually what do you like with a hiring manager? how are you going to make that hiring manager convinced and comfortable that you can hire a plumber in Nicaragua, even though it looks like you've never done that before? And that's something we face as well. Not every single role can or will be something that our recruiters have hired end to end before. It might be a different location, might be a different, slightly different twist on the skill set. So again, it's almost that's the bit that we have to focus in on, I think, from our business. So we've got some decent plans, I think, in place, but like many, there are back of a fag packet right now which says this is good intent and we should continue to do that. The least we can do right now is to get together as a team as often as possible and just have some proper focused time about how are you finding it, what is working. And I think we're pretty good at sharing that, capturing it as a challenge and how we take that forward. I know when we've hired people in the past, it's often the onboarding for us is more challenging. We tend to focus in on the onboarding aspect for our client and hire against the client need first and then us as a secondary. That's great for the first client. When they're rotating to the second client, then that's often where we've got some more issues that we've missed some bits along the way. And I think that's something that we're trying desperately to try and catch up on until 2023 to make sure that we actually lock that down a little bit more.
Great, Martin. Lots of really interesting insights here. You're doing some good things by the sounds of things, and also it says that you've got plans as well to go and continue to enhance as well. I think you're probably ahead of where most people are, but it's great to understand that you appreciate there's lots of additional work that can be done. So thank you very much for taking the time to come and join me today. Where can people access you?
Oh, best thing, come and find me on LinkedIn. It's Martin Dangerfield. There aren't very many of us. Head to immersivehiring.com and find out all about us. So there you go. Those two places are the best place.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Martin. All the best.
Thanks, Adam.